And now the transfer gossip really seems to be hotting up. We find ourselves in a situation that's going to really annoy Arsenal at the moment. That is because it appears there's an auction for Declan Rice's services. Man City have entered the fray in a very, very serious way. We'll get to the details in just a second on that one. That appears as though it's going to force Manchester United's hand, who also want the England captain. England captain? He's not the England captain, he's the West Ham captain. Maybe one day he'll be the England captain. Listen, this is really, really good news for West Ham. As I say, bad news for Arsenal. I'm going to get through as much as I possibly can in the next 15 minutes because there's some Flynn Downs rumours, a bit of a swap deal plus some cash with James Ward Prowse. Southampton want Flynn Downs. I've only, as I switched on the camera, I've heard that news, not quite processed it in my mind yet, so I think I know what I think, but I'll deal with that in a second. Dennis Zakaria, you probably know this guy. Well, you can't miss him. He's an absolute brute. There are rumours that West Ham might be interested in him. That's come from Fabrizio Romano. Romano has also confirmed that West Ham are going to make the signing. Do you sign a director of football? Maybe you just hire them. Well, whatever. The hiring, the recruitment of the director of football, Tim Steeden. We'll deal with that in another video, but it's all part of the news, which is changing so quickly at the moment. Before I get on to Man City, crazy, loads of messages. People keep asking me about these lights, these voice-activated lights. They're cheap as chips. They're nothing special, honestly. People keep going on about them. I mean, they're cheap. I'll put a link below. You can get them on Amazon or eBay. They're cheap as chips, honestly. I'll put the link below. They're a nice little toy, but they're nothing special, I can assure you. Let's just get back to Manchester City. Right. Arsenal were increasing their bid incrementally, bit by bit. I never get insulted by transfer bidding. It's just negotiations, but I felt it was silly. They were bidding in a silly way. All the while, Manchester City were saying to West Ham, keep us up to date with what happens, please. So Manchester City was saying, look, we're not going to come in with this bidding. You just let us know what's happening with other people, and then we will come in with a serious bid. I like the cut of their jib. I like their way of doing business. So it appears on receipt of the second bid from Arsenal, which was not much higher than the first bid, apparently. Manchester City have now come in with a really firm offer. Now, as I understand it, it exceeds the 100 million. It would be a British record transfer fee, but it does include some add-ons. As I understand it, they're willing to pay more of the fee up front, which is what West Ham want. Normally these things be paid over 5 years, for instance. West Ham want the bulk of it paid over the first two. Apparently Man City are willing to do that. And the add-ons, they don't seem quite so silly. If Manchester City are saying, oh, in the event of us winning the Premier League, we'll give you another 10 million. It's sort of banked cash, isn't it? You have to think that Man City are going to win the Premier League at some point over Declan Rice's contract. So I just think it feels a lot better than Arsenal saying, if we win the Premier League and the Champions League, we'll give you tuppence and a curly whirly. It just seems a lot better. It wasn't tuppence and a curly whirly. It was 15 million or whatever, but the structure of the deal is much, much better. Gio has already spoken at length, on video and to us personally as well, about McTominay and about the prospect. Yesterday there was a prospect of some swap deal with McTominay or Harry Maguire, and so that's really interesting. Manchester United were taking their time, so they're waiting for the takeover, but Ten Hag is a little bit frustrated. He wants it done, so it looks like even if the Glazers remain in charge, they're going to have to sanction this deal to get it done, because Man City are just going to go and try and steal a march on everyone. And you know what? If I was Declan, I'd be going to Man City. That's easy for me to say. He lives down south. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I wouldn't take my family up. It depends. There's a lot of parameters, but I would understand it. I personally would prefer Declan to go to Man City. I don't really have an awful lot against Arsenal traditionally as a club, but I've got to say, Mikel Arteta's really annoys me. I hold a grudge, right? Ever since he dragged that player onto the pitch to try and get the game stopped against West Ham, he's annoyed me. And you know, like some players annoy you. Like, everyone's got a different one, but like Wilfried Zaha's quite an annoying player. Since Gio pointed it out, I can't unsee it. Fernandes at Manchester United, God, he don't stop moaning. He's a whingy, whiny. Oh, it does my head in. And now every time I see him, I think, oh, he's horrible. I can't bear to watch him. He's the manager equivalent of them for me, and I just find it really hard to watch him on the touchline there. So I'd rather he didn't go to Arsenal. Quite a pathetic reason. He'd also London rivals. Out of sight, out of mind at Manchester City, I think, in that sense as well. I mean, Arsenal are going to be... I mentioned a few times, I did a video with a couple of Arsenal fans this last week. Arsenal fans are annoyed with how their club are bidding. So very much at the moment, it would sound very familiar, because we say this sort of stuff as West Ham fans. Arsenal are saying, why do we always do this? Why don't we ever just go and buy the player? Why does it take us so long to sign a player? All that stuff that we say, Arsenal fans are saying it. They're really annoyed now. They think that they've dithered. They think that they've taken too much time. They think that Arsenal have bid too gently and nowhere near our valuation. And it looks like, I don't know, it looks like they may lose out on a player. But now the onus is on Arsenal to come back, isn't it? To come back with a bigger bid now. It's quite funny the way they've done it. And I don't have any sympathy with Arsenal. I've done that so many times, by the way, on eBay. I love an eBay auction. You know what? And sometimes you see something, you think, oh, well, that's quite undervalued. You put a little bid on, and, you put a little bid on. You just try, there's you and one other person, and you think, wow, I'm going to get this for £100 cheaper. And then it gets to right at the end, and then one of the big boys comes in, they blast you out the water, they pay more than the going rate, and you think, damn, I've been done. I was too gentle in my bidding. If I'd have really wanted it, I should have really gone for it. But you realise you never really had a chance even in the first place. And I think Arsenal are probably employing my eBay tactics to try and get Declan Rice. And I've got to say, that is not a successful model to follow, I can assure you. It'd be really interesting to see what happens here. I'm going to upload this video. By the time it's uploaded, I wouldn't even be surprised this video's old by the end of tonight. So you're going to have to excuse me on that. I'm not in charge of this. I'm just reporting what's being said. Right, let's get on to the James Ward Prowse thing. Don't know what the money is. This has come from ex-West Ham United employee. He has suggested, and I think I've got this right, excuse me if I paraphrase it and get it wrong. Manchester United want Flynn Downs. They know that we want James Ward Prowse. So basically we can offset some of the money. It wouldn't be a straight swap because James Ward Prowse is valued more than Flynn Downs. So I guess we give them some money and Flynn Downs and we get James Ward Prowse. You might call, let me know what you think in the comments. You may call me mad. I don't really fancy it, to be fair. I still think there's a bit of a future for Flynn Downs. I really do. I can understand Flynn Downs wanting to leave, and I'll tell you what would happen. That's what I think, anyway. Flynn Downs goes down to the Championship, becomes one of the best players in the Championship. Like we're chasing that Alex Scott now. I know they're different players. In fact, you probably want to pair him with Alex Scott, wouldn't you? Maybe not in the first team, but, that'd be a nice pairing for the Europa League next season, wouldn't it? In the group stages, at least. But you could see Flynn Downs being one of the best players in the Championship next season. That would just happen. Then all of a sudden, Flynn Downs is worth more than we might have paid for James Ward Prowse. I don't know. Doesn't feel like something I want to do. I wasn't particularly excited by it. However, when Fabrizio Romano said about Denis Zakaria, I thought, oh, hold on a second. This ain't... Let me read you the tweet. You have to excuse me. The tweet's on my phone. Let me read it. I have to change... Hey, glasses change, pit stop. Fabrizio Romano, I understand West Ham are among clubs interested in signing Denis Zakaria. He's back to Juventus after a Chelsea loan. West Ham have asked for information on conditions of the deal, but there may be many clubs in the race. Zakaria is not in Juventus' plans for next season. Look, Swiss international, really, really good player. Most of the time, when I hear about us linked to players, particularly on the continent, I don't know who they are. And it's like that Yunus Musa. Hadn't actually heard of him. When I researched him, when I had a little look and looked at some of the stuff, I thought, wow, yeah, he's good. Don't need to do that with Denis Zakaria. I think we all know about him, don't we? He was thinking Mönchengladbach. I think it is. Anyway, Swiss international, big money, as I remember, 20, 30 million to Juventus. Maybe didn't work out there. What happened on the loan deal to Chelsea? Do you know what? I mean, that sort of passed me by as well. What I do know, he's an absolute monster of a player, a ginormous, absolute leviathan. And, I quite like him, really. So, I wouldn't be annoyed with that. I think he was I did check quickly before coming. I think he's 26. I might be wrong. I think he's 26. Maybe it's in that tweet. Maybe I should have paid more attention to that. Good player. Almost, I would have thought perfectly suited to the Premier League. Maybe I'm wrong after what happened at Chelsea. I don't know, but I like this one. I do like this one. It does appear, though, that we are going to be armed with a nice bit of cash, because if Manchester City are willing to pay, let's say Manchester City's deal is 90 million or 80 million up front plus another 20 or something like that. Something that takes it over 100 million. But they're willing to pay 40 million this season, 40 million next season. I mean, that's really good. That really helps. I understand the reason we want to do it. It frees up some capital for us to spend, and also it gets rid of that financial fair play stuff that UEFA are having a look at us. We're on the watch list, aren't we? The naughty step. UEFA's naughty step. They've got some bloody nerve. They have, by the way, UEFA. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all that now. But anyway, so we're on the naughty step. That would get rid of that far easier than the money being spread over 5 years. So you can understand why David Sullivan's just said no to Arsenal over their plan spread over 5 years that wasn't paying very much anyway. And by the way, he did say no. I heard that when Sullivan came back with when Arsenal came back with their second deal, the return email came back from Sullivan, and all their deal was detailed, all the rest of it. And apparently, he just turned around and said no. It was one word. I think they were expecting a dialogue and negotiation. I was quite pleased to hear that. But you can understand if what we got to do is remain under the radar of UEFA's financial fair play panel, then is it really any good if what we do, whatever, 80 million? I mean, 80 million spread over, I mean, crikey. I mean, even if it's spread over 4 years, it's 20 million a season, right? And that's not including the bonuses. Whatever, even if you put the bonuses on it, you're looking at probably over 5 years, a bit less than 20 million a season. That's not doing us any favours at all. It's almost not worth us selling him. Honestly, it's ridiculous. I don't know why they've come up with some offer that's so pathetic, really. Manchester City coming in saying, there you go, 40 million now, 40 million next year, plus the add-ons. Okay, that makes more sense. Because what West Ham actually can do is if we go and were to buy Zakaria, we could pay for him over 5 years. I mean, that's normally the way things are done, or 4 years. We could spread the Declan Rice money. Anyway, I'm waffling. Just really, really interesting. I thought that the Declan Rice stuff is heating up. It's hot. It's scorching. It's scorchio. A bit like the weather, actually, at the moment. So just ready for Man United to come in. The news is going to change really, really quickly. James Ward Prowse for Flynn Downs. Plus, we'd have to pay them some cash. I don't know what you think. Maybe I'm being too fussy. I'm thinking no to that one. Denis Zakaria is a yes from me. Please do let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for all the lovely comments about my lights. It's just funny. I'm putting all this stuff out there and all these transfer rumors. But saying, like your lights, mate. They look a bit posh. They're really not. I think. I think those 3 lights cost me about 20 quid or something like that. So even less, actually. But anyway, don't worry about all that. I'll catch up with you. I was going to say, well, it will be tomorrow. I definitely won't be doing another video today because I've got other things to do. But I'll be back tomorrow where I expect the news to have changed.